been told she talks about Luther, the pagan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Lenore yesterday and she was telling me. Usually that's what she talks about.
Yeah, well, this is a little different today, so.
Yeah. Have you ever been in that kind of group?
No, no, I know Gail, I used to work with in Wisconsin, before the, yeah.
Just get
The
rid of
topic
that.
of Carol's talk is on the screen right now.
There was a group at first. What are you doing?
Oh, I heard him say, she's on the screen when she's talking.
Oh, they have a page with the police person, and of course I gotta check out everything. And, it was interesting because, you know, it's a very old kind of thing.
Right.
I certainly couldn't disagree with honoring the old.
No, no.
That's the main thing I got out of it.
And there's a couple of passages, two in there where you have that. The ones that are, you know, honoring the dead, about that. And then there's a little friendlier group there on the outside. Burning.
I'm good. How are you? You want a hug?
Absolutely. I wish they had a sticker that said all hugs in and out, because I'm okay. You know, I'm okay. How's Emily?
She's okay. She's a little panicked about shifting over into the college world.
And where is she going? I forgot.
She's going to start at Nashville State.
That's right.
Prerequisites out of the way.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Always a good thing.
With the scholarship money and everything, why not?
Yeah. No, I think in our state, the kids are so lucky that they have that to take advantage of, because, you know, if you just go straight into a big university, you are so pushed to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't ready,
That was me.
and they need to just kind of see those basic things and kind of get used to it. It's free.
No.
It's like
How could you pass that up?
it's like crazy. So good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she sticks with it and doesn't give up. That's hard.
Tina, I
Hey.
like your dress,
Oh.
different colors. I need to do that with
Transition.
one of mine.
I love yours.
Cause I've got a bunch, they all are the same. At least I could change that one.
But blue is your color.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is better than yellow and orange.
Yeah. I like to change it up a little bit. This is not my safety zone, but I wanted to get out of my safety zone.
Howdy, Carol Jane.
Tina, Carol and I are just going to keep working on our and I know Alice is supposed to be busy. Just send people over, and I'll try to on my work. In case we have yeah, absolutely.
I would even call sometimes and say, all right, I'm
Did
at
you
mile marker
order that
such and
dress
such.
online
We're
or?
stopped, what's going on?
Oh, I would love us to have a
That
bunch
didn't
of
happen the
those.
day of my accident.
What size are you? I can order you one.
Well, I want a big and loose, so.
They have like medium, large, extra large. Or it would be small, medium, large, extra large.
Probably extra large.
You want one of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much are they?
They're so cheap.
Well, can you send me the link?
Oh, you want the link? Okay.
Yeah. Look, where do they come from? Is it Amazon or?
Unfortunately,
What kind of fiber is it?
I think it's a mix. So it's not just straight up. Like,
Yeah.
like a normal.
Well, this is, I'm allergic to, complete polyester. I can handle some. I think this is we're going to see
Yes.
the signatures for the. Okay. And so do they have them in different colors? I don't wanna be a match. Oh, we can come as twins or something.
You get them laminated, but the price is not so we can do them in black and white or
Do
laminated.
you have
I
other
think staples
colors?
is fine, because I think we're gonna be.
So what size is that? What are the sleeves look like? You know, I got the plate on. And I was just giving somebody a talk about, I don't pay attention to, persons and I get their essence. And yet, you know, I still.
Well, what is it?
Yeah,
really excited.
Thank you for noticing. Oh, these are lovely.
So these are good. Good, how you doing?
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Yay.
One, each person is important. Two, be kind in all you do. Three, help each other learn. Four, and search for what is true. Five, all people have a say. Six, one for a peaceful world. Seven, the web of life's away. And we fight systemic racism.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's great to be here today in the sanctuary. I was just talking about how it's been about almost a year since I've been service coordinator live. So this is a little out of my comfort zone right now. So I appreciate everyone's patience, and hello to everyone online. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Greater Nashville Unitarian Universalist Congregation, the spiritual home of Reverend Denise, who is away from GNUUC for the month of July in body, but not in presence. Our speaker today is Carol Jankura, who will be speaking with us today about her very personal experiences with otherness. I am Tina Conti, your worship leader for today. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are not a Christian faith, although some of us are Christians. We are not an atheist community, although some of us are atheists. We are not Buddhist, Jewish, or Wiccan faith, but many Unitarian Universalists are part of those traditions. Rather, we are committed to we have a set of core principles. These principles help us remember what we are striving for, and they let us know we are in the right place as we come together today. And we will be lighting our chalice. Sandy? When Unitarian Universalists gather for worship, we light a chalice, a beacon to all who are in danger, signal that they can find sanctuary here. Sandy Blands will light our chalice for us today. Our chalice lighting words come from Kia Kieli Bordner. Come together again. Gather in love. Light the fire of hope. Build the foundation. Commit together again. Gather in truth. Light the fire of freedom. Build the entryways. Continue together again. Gather in community. Light the fire of the future. Build the shelter. Thank you, Sandy, by the way, for lighting our chalice. We, Unitarian Universalists, are people of a covenant. We make commitments with each other and with the world around us about what we stand for and what we will do to make the world a better place. This is our congregational covenant, and I invite you to recite it with me if this is a commitment you are ready to make. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. We are pleased to have Fran Gabor here with us on the piano. Thank you, Fran. Our opening hymn is Wondrous Love in our hymnal, singing the Living Tradition, number 18. Please rise as you are able in body or in spirit.
I think I'll play the melody through one time.
Absolutely.
Refresh our memories. We haven't done this one in a
Okay, Fran is going to play us the melody.
and then we'll just start right in and sing all three verses.
Beautiful, Fran. Thank you.
Wrong one.
What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul? What wondrous love is this, oh my soul? What wondrous love is this? It brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul.
He Can't by Molly Bang.
When Sophie Thinks She Can't by Molly Bang. Sophie loves working in the vegetable garden and exploring the woods. But today, it's pouring rain, and Sophie's inside, trying and trying to build puzzle pieces into a square. Sophie's sister walks by. She moves the pieces, and suddenly they all fit perfectly. "Too bad you're not smart," says her sister, and she walks away. The next day is sunny. Not sunny for Sophie. I can't do anything, she thinks. She drags her feet all the way to school. Oh no! What's the one word on the board? Smart. How do we become smart? Asks Miss Mullery. Nobody knows the answer. They all think you have to be born smart. Flex those strong muscles of yours, says Miss Mullery. All the children flex their muscles. Our muscles get stronger when we exercise, right? When we exercise our brains by thinking hard, our brains get stronger too. Now, we've been learning about rectangles and squares. Today, we'll exercise our brains with a math puzzle using squares and rectangles. But I can't do puzzles, Sophie thinks. I know I have strong muscles. I'm good at soccer, and I work hard in the garden. I can't do puzzles, and I'm never smart at math. But Miss Mullery is talking. You're going to build a bigger rectangle out of 12 small squares. How many different rectangles can you make? Use the tools at your table or come up with another way. I can't do it, says Sophie. Make your brain stronger, whispers Paula. Just try. Paula gathers up a pile of square tiles. Think hard, Sophie, whispers Andrew. He takes a sheet of graph paper. Sophie sits and stares. And stares. Maybe she can draw them. Oh! Sophie does draw squares, but her squares are all different sizes. Paula has too many tiles. Andrew's graph paper has too many little squares. This problem is too hard. Miss Mullery is smiling. She speaks to the class. I see you mathematicians struggling. Now's the time to use the most important word. That word is yet. You haven't figured it out yet. Keep working, keep trying, and you will. Paula, Andrew, and Sophie work hard. Paula takes only 12 tiles and builds them into a rectangle. Andrew marks a red X in each square as he counts them. Sophie thinks of her garden. Her garden is a rectangle. The vegetables are in straight lines. Sophie draws a line with 12 different vegetables on it. She draws a square around the 12 vegetables. Paula, Andrew, and Sophie count their different rectangles. 4 different kinds. But Sophie is worried. Mine's not a rectangle, she groans. It's too long. It is a rectangle, says Paula. It's a very long one. We did it! Meanwhile, Miss Mullery looks at the rectangles the other students have made. 6 rectangles. You all did it, she says. You've worked hard and gotten stuck. You've used the most important word, yet. You've tried and tried again, helped each other, and solved it. Those brains of yours have certainly gotten stronger. Sophie feels the sun on her face. I solved the puzzle. She laughs. And it was a math puzzle. I did it. I can do it again. I'm getting smarter. When Sophie gets home, her dad has a puzzle too. I can't figure out how to fix this cabinet door, he says. Dad, says Sophie, you have to use the most important word. You can't figure it out yet. Can I help? And you know what? They do fix it. Together. The end.
Sorry about that online, folks. I was muted. I was just saying it was time for the RE to begin. Now we are moving on to June's Share the Plate partner is Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi. The Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, eliminating the federal constitutional right, I'm trying to get this thing up a little bit more, okay, to abortion and the ability for individual women to make the best reproductive choices for themselves and their families. The doors to the clinics of Planned Parenthood of Tennessee and North Mississippi are still open. They provide routine wellness care, birth control, emergency birth control, hormone therapy for transgender folks, infection testing, and referrals to abortion access networks so that people seeking abortions can travel outside of Tennessee. Please take a moment to read about ways to donate. Thank you. Fran will play a musical meditation for us now, Across the Dunes by Michael Scott. Her talk is entitled W.E.B. Du Bois and Why All Lives Matter is not new. Hello, Carol.
Good morning. So it's been a minute since I've spoken to this congregation. Those of you who have been part of the congregation for many years will likely remember that each time I spoke from this pulpit, it was about my neo-pagan faith and Wiccan holidays. I won't be doing that today. A lot has happened in the world, in this church, and in my own personal life since then. The last few years have been a minefield of personal tragedies and triumphs, political strife, economic uncertainty, racial crisis, and cultural shifts, all stirred together with a global pandemic thrown in for flavoring. So today I won't be talking about academic or theoretical terms about esoteric ideas. Today I want to share some deeply personal parts of my own journey. Some things I touch on may be uncomfortable for some people. It's been my journey, and I promise you it's been uncomfortable for me too. Growing up, I was different in myriad ways. I found some solace in writing poetry. After leaving grad school, my writing kind of dipped off for a little while, but I picked it back up again in my early 40s. And my kids were watching. My youngest child, Liz, my mini me, went through some pretty serious traumas and bullying in middle and high school. And like me, found an outlet and voice for that pain in writing poetry. In the last couple of years, Liz has done a lot of really phenomenal writing, and has taken to performing at spoken word events and poetry nights throughout Nashville. And it was her poetry and performances that really inspired me to get back to writing again. A couple of months ago, I went to a poetry event that Liz was headlining, and I shared this piece that I had written. It's called Another Other. Day one, I am born a Black child in a middle-class, educated family. My othering began early. My middle-class, educated Black family moves to a working-class white town in Ohio, where my othering continues. At 7, my middle-class, educated, Midwestern Black family moves to wealthy, white, upstate New York for more othering. At 8, I can't read. They say I'm slow. I have to repeat 3rd grade. My highly educated Black family has me tested. Dyslexic, spelled backward, is pronounced other. I join the othered kids in special ed. I'm a special kind of special, so it's only for an hour a day. I don't really belong there. After 2 years, I can read better than my dad's college students. My testable skills are chart toppers. I'm gifted. I really don't belong there. More othering. At 12, I go to boarding school. I'm uniquely gifted. They have to create new classes for me in English and math, so I don't have to slow down my learning for the regular gifted kids to keep up. I take math with Sean, English with Leah. Everything else, extra credit will have to do. Accelerated othering. At 15, I go to high school. The kids there are rich and white, but not gifted. I take classes with seniors, but I room with freshmen. So much othering. That at 16, I drop out so that I can go to college on the island of the misfit toys, population 300. Others, all different, all gifted, all unique. Othering is the one thing we have in common. When I wrote this, I was trying to tell a story of how I got labeled a unicorn in so many circles, and why it was such a relief to me when I met not one, but 2 others who were just like me. Black women who were pagan, married to white men, working in IT for 20 plus years, bookish sci-fi nerds, etc., ad nauseum. But like everything else seen through the poetic lens, it took a turn that I didn't expect, or rather, it reached a conclusion well before I even started to touch on the life event I had in mind when I started writing. So after reading it out loud at a coffee shop full of strangers, I realized I needed to take a stab at this poem about that island of misfit toys that I mentioned in the last stanza. First, let me give you a little background. Simon's alma mater, as I felt I truly belonged, is a unique place in its mission and execution. It's a college for high school age students. And back in the 1980s, when I was there, it was all early admission. None of the students there had completed high school, and most of them only having finished the 10th grade. Being unicorn and all, I was in the group of students that had only finished 9th grade, and I was the only one of them to complete the associate's degree. And I got that the same year I should have graduated high school. My family was not wealthy, and the unique educational opportunity of Simon's Rock comes with a really hefty price tag. So to make that happen, I applied for every scholarship I could find. I used the talent that I knew I had, which was writing. So I wrote letters, essays, short stories, poetry to any scholarship that would take those things into consideration. In the end, I was awarded about a dozen scholarships ranging in value from $100 to $1,500. I was still $14,000 shy of what I needed. So I decided to delay my enrollment and go back to high school. That didn't work out, but that's a different story for a different conversation. So I asked to reinstate my enrollment, and the school submitted my application and test scores to the W.E.B. Du Bois Foundation. The foundation granted me enough money to complete a 4-year degree. I didn't get to do that. My time on the island of the misfit toys was cut short, which brings us to that second poem I was talking about. It is in 2 parts. The first is just a preface. The preface is called The Other Side. W.E.B. Du Bois said that the major division of the 20th century would be economics, not race. He said that to ensure that Black people were not left out of the American economy, we had to focus our resources on getting Black children with the most potential to succeed access to white elite universities. After his death, the W.E.B. Du Bois Foundation put money from his estate into a scholarship targeted at getting the top 10% of Black students, which he had dubbed the Talented 10th, access to private education at top-ranked schools. In the late 1980s, as a byproduct of Ronald Reagan's affirmative action policy, race had to be removed from the scholarship criteria. Rather than opening the Du Bois Scholarship to non-Black students, the foundation shut down the scholarship until the policy was changed. Second part of the poem is called The Mission Ended. W.E.B. Du Bois called us the Talented 10th. We had SAT, PSAT, ACT, IQ scores to prove it. We could be the rising Black tide to raise all Black ships. W.E.B. Du Bois gave us access and a mission to climb the ivory tower, unlock the floodgate, rain down economic equality. W.E.B. Du Bois told us that we were the great Black hope. Ronald Reagan killed Du Bois. Why? All scholars matter. The thing I most love about writing poetry is how the poetic voice reveals parallels between the microcosm of my personal emotional life and the macrocosm of the culture and world around us. Looking at the experience of losing my scholarship through the lens of poetry, I see this continuous thread. As I was writing the poem, a bell rang in my mind. The mechanism that took away my access to Simon's Rock is the propaganda that is used over and over again to undermine the fight for civil rights and equality. It's in the All Lives Matter response to Black Lives Matter. It's in the colorblind defense against microaggressions and racism. It's in calling the denial of abortion rights pro-life. It's choosing people who want to live, love, open, promoting a gay agenda. If W.E.B. Du Bois Foundation had opened that scholarship to non-Black students, the mission of leveling the playing field would be lost. Denying the causal factor of inequality does not make anyone more equal. It just makes it harder to fight. When Jesse first asked me if I would give a summer song talk this year, I had a really clear idea of where I wanted to go and how it would shape up. But then the Supreme Court started dismantling the civil liberties that I'd spent all of my life up until now fighting for. So over the last couple of weeks, instead of focusing on writing about how Du Bois had become my personal hero, I've been doom scrolling through social media, looking at trauma stories, rage memes, fearful predictions of the kind of oppression Black, Brown, Indigenous, immigrant, queer, and other marginalized groups of Americans have faced and fought for generations. After overturning Roe versus Wade, I was silent for a few days, just sitting with my broken heart and watching other people's reactions. I finally spoke up and posted the following. They've been whittling away at our voting rights for years. We aren't going to vote our way out of this. We need to be in the streets, the classrooms, the boardrooms, the pulpits, everywhere, educating the crap out of people, especially the Republican base. Voters have been bamboozled into voting away their own best interest. They've wholesale bought into the propaganda that tells them to hate and fear liberal ideologies. To my conservative friends, the narrative is all lies. We aren't coming for your guns or killing your babies. We aren't trying to turn you gay or make you hate Jesus. We're trying to protect you and everyone else from the theocratic oligarchy that is trying to take over. After I posted this, I was surprised that it landed me into a heated fight with the person I least suspected, a friend who I've always leaned on for his objective and supportive responses, objected to my use of pulpits in that statement. He said, the churches are and must remain separate from state, and political messages from the pulpit cross that line. I won't rehash the whole argument, but it got me thinking about how we respond to the loss of civil rights. Because civil rights is not a political agenda, it's a human agenda. Black folk have fought this fight before, and the pulpit was imperative. My dad's generation had Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., polar opposites who galvanized a generation to change the world. Don't forget that MLK was a preacher first, activist second. And Malcolm X became a community leader through the Nation of Islam. The civil rights movement happened in the pulpit. It wasn't just because religious institutions were safe places for Blacks to congregate. It was because the pulpit is where you change hearts and minds. We've allowed the rising oligarchy to use religious platforms to drive their propaganda. We have a responsibility as a UU community to express and promote ideas and actions in accordance with our principles. This is where the rubber meets the road, where we each must decide if we will live the principles we claim, especially the first, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. The second, justice, equality, and compassion in human relations. The sixth, the goal of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And the eighth principle currently under consideration, which seeks the commitment to dismantle racism and other Apparently my router failed me for a moment there. I apologize. How much did I miss?
We got to the 8th principle, Carol, but that's it.
That was the end.
Could you repeat the very end, Carol, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you repeat the last sentence?
The last sentence was the 8th principle, which seeks the commitment to dismantle racism and other oppressions. That is where I ended.
Thank you, Carol. Eloquent. Now we'll listen to Woody Guthrie's patriotic homage and warning to our country's highest ideals, sung by Elizabeth Mitchell.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling, and the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. By the relief office, I've seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can ever make
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Now we've come to our little background music. It's nice. We've come to our time for joys and concerns. Sandy, would you like to help with the candles? Or you know what, would you like me to do them? Yeah, I'll do them. Would anyone like to speak? Would anyone in the sanctuary like to? Denise, please.